Sound is.
I've got to say, Nick, I'm a bit jealous of our guest today.
Really? Why is that, Tom?
Mate, he's been living the dream by travelling all over the world and connecting with the Greek communities there. Can you believe that?
I can believe it, Tom, because it's a great thing to do. And as you know, I've done that in my travels.
You have, mate.
I was in 22 countries in, 9-10 months. So I'm actually going to enjoy this guest as well.
I think so too. I mean, it's something that we've learnt doing this podcast, that Greeks are definitely everywhere, but he's proving firsthand, isn't he, with all the work that he's been doing?
Definitely. And the good thing is about our guest, it's not just stories, he's actually documenting it, writing books and films and so forth, which is really good for people who don't get to do what he does and travel around the world and meet with Greeks.
Absolutely. And look, he's primarily here because he's about to launch a new film called Magna Graecia, the Greko of Calabria, which documents the disappearing language of the Greeks in that part of the world. Interesting topic, isn't it, Nick?
It is. Really looking forward to hearing what he's got to say about it. And more importantly, we've been invited to watch the premiere.
We have, and mate, I am absolutely thrilled that we're going to be there. It's going to be very interesting. So look, let's get down to it. With us in the distillery today, we have a bloke who wears a few hats within the multicultural community. Among many things, he's a writer, journalist, and filmmaker who was first published in 1995 in the Greek-Australian newspaper O Cosmos. Since then, he's been both featured in and contributed to dozens of publications across 4 continents. In 2012, he began developing short film and documentaries, including Zorba Goes to Sydney, Brutus v Caesar, Leadership, The Draconian Decision of the German Drachma, and many more. He's been a presenter on the Foxtel show Meraki TV, and has also been a finalist for the Multicultural Journalist of the Year twice. More than anything, though, he's a modern-day journeyman, having travelled to over 50 countries where he often connects with the local Greek community, often in unlikeliest of places. Billy Cotsis, your journey's finally brought you to Uzo Talk, mate. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, boys. It's a nice setup.
Yeah, mate, it's great to have you here, mate. Finally.
I'm glad I woke up this morning for it. I was going to sleep in till the afternoon.
Well, you did text me just before you knocked you were going to be 2 hours late.
Which is standard for me, so...
Lucky
you told me to be here at 9 a.m.
We did, yeah. I thought we should have.
And it's 1 p.m, right? So
yeah, he's only 4 hours late. We're doing well. That's real Greek time. That's how we know you're Greek.
I was a village boy for a year, so
Only a year?
Only a year.
That's all it takes.
Look, when you're kicked me out, they had a plebiscite, they had an ostracism, and I was shown the door. So Vasilios, get out of here.
Excellent.
On the ceramic.
Figure. Oh, jeez.
And they gave me a donkey to leave, so it wasn't that bad.
Oh, they go duri. Nice.
Donkey and a ration of water and cheese or something like that.
Mate, the tiri was like a big block, so it was great.
Oh, so you were okay.
I was fine.
You're good to get to the next island.
And the usual, so it was good.
Absolutely.
Mate. Speaking of Uzo,
we're already well into it. We've got what are we drinking on? Well, that's for the next section. We're jumping ahead.
All right, sorry.
Let's have a drink. What do you reckon?
I think so, Tom. Standard. We usually drink before we get to that bit anyway, but
yeah.
Let's continue drinking.
Good stuff. Here we go. Boides Yamas.
Yamas.
Cheers, boy, this.
Or, as they say in one of the places I've been to, Ola Kala, Panda Kala.
That's it.
Bravo. And what do we say here, Tom?
Has probato. Which none of us are doing.
No, we did that with the Tsipro, but we're having... Well, actually, you can tell us, Tom, what are we having today?
We're having schooners of Mini. Not schooners, no. So yeah, Mini, it's one of the standard Uzo brands that sort of grace Greece's and Australian shores right now. And look, among Mini, Plomari, Pilavas as well, I think they're probably the standards. What do you reckon, Billy?
They are, and they're from Lesbos. The one thing I'll say about Mini, aside from awesome cover, it was bought out by a French company a while back, so it's still manufactured on Lesbos. It just happened to be the cheapest one at the shop, so Plomari, or as we say, Plomar is pretty good. And Barbayani is fantastic. 6 generations. I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. Everyone knows everyone. So it's a really good one. And it's still owned by the locals. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you should go back and listen to our episode on Greek barbecue culture, because we drank probably 3 bottles of the Barbayani, the different types, and it was...
Had the green, the gold.
And it was very messy.
Yeah, was it the blue? You had
it as well.
Bravo.
Some of our best work.
Yeah. So I didn't know. So Mini is from Limnos.
Lesvos.
Oh, Lesvos.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We like Lemnos, but no, not that much to give them the secrets.
Classic. Wow. So
but the French brought it out. So,
the French. How long ago?
Oh God, it could be about 20. It's a few years now.
Okay.
And the company, I think they've got Chivas Regal and a few other big brands that they distribute or make. So
there you go.
Yeah, this is one of them. And the global reach, it's increased. Thanks to them, it's in so many more countries. But the knock-on effect is the profits go back to France, goes back to their wagon wheels and snails and all that kind of stuff. But at least Lesvos keeps the jobs. So that's good.
Beautiful. I must say, it's a great drop. And what does the bottle say? Smooth and mellow.
It's certainly that.
Are you sure it's not the show? Or it's the bottle, right?
Could be both, actually. It could be a motto for our show, Tom.
Smooth and mellow.
100% Anisi from Lisoveri.
It's good stuff at any rate.
Yeah,
and look, but these are the standard drinks. For mine, Plomari still is the one that I would sort of default to. Maybe closely followed by this one, and then sort of a distant third at this point, I would say Bilavas. But then, as you said, Billy, mate, the Barbayani is like next level.
Barbayani is the top shelf. If you had to have an everyday staple, Plomari and Mini would be there. But your top shelf is Barbayani for sure.
And it's a nice distillery. People, the young boys that are running it these days, lovely people.
Really?
Yeah. They're pretty good. They're a good bunch.
What a job.
Mate.
How do we get into that sort of gig?
Let's do it.
Well,
Why not?
We're going to have to do a tour, actually, just on Lesvos. There'll be, 3 or 4 at least distilleries we've got to touch on.
At the least. At the least, mate. You and I are going to end up rolling off the island if we go there.
Ouzo Talk does Ouzo in Lesvos.
Are you sure you haven't been drinking yet?
Just think I'm a lesbian, so just think, lesbians.
I can't picture that they're looking at you. If our viewers saw you, no, I don't see it. Got too much hair.
You're a raging lesbian, aren't you? You love women.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
That was going to be my next question, though. What is your family background? Obviously you've just said that from Lesvos. Are you from anywhere else?
So it's an interesting one. So both parents are born Lesvos, so 2 different villages, thank God. So there's no issues of cousins and all that kind of stuff.
That you know of.
It's 8 kilometres away, come on. Give me a break. So they're from Skutaro and Filia, love the name, in Lesvos. But I've got a Papu Vasili from Aivali. So he was one of the lucky few not to be butchered and get out. And then from
where is Aivali? Where is it?
So Aivali is directly across from Lesvos. And if you're ever in town in Mytilene, it's worth going across. It's beautiful. You still see the old neoclassical buildings. There's about 30,000 people there these days. So it was more Greek than Brighton. It was
wow.
That's
it was
Greek.
A full Greek.
Not as Greek as Marrickville.
It was a Greek city which unfortunately copped the brunt of the Ottoman massacres of Hellenes and Christians and that. So it's literally 9 miles away. It's quite good. So Papu's from there. Then we've got on my mum's side, from my yaya's side, descendants from Smyrna as well too. The problem is both my parents lost parents when they were young. So my Papu Vasili from Aivali. So we don't know enough about the stories and the histories, and nothing's. There's no Facebook, obviously, and there's nothing. So it doesn't give us enough information. But so we're from Lesvos, a lesbian family. And Mikrasia as well.
Yeah. Do you know how they left Asia Minor? We're probably going a bit off topic here, but do you know much about their story?
Yes,
especially Smyrna,
no.
because Smyrna I think it's the 100-year anniversary for the fires.
Yeah, last month. It's one of those things where, again, because they were both young, so my mum was 8 when she lost Yaya, and Dad was 9 when he lost Papu. So they don't have enough information. But the story goes that Papu escaped and his brother, they escaped from Aivali, and they're from a town called Karagazzi. So I've been there a couple of times, and that town is just outside Aivali. So they escaped from all that. Everything had been burnt and massacred. So they were young. So
like 9 years old.
They were. I think Papu must have been in his teens at that point.
Okay.
So he escaped to Smyrna, which is about, when I did the journey, it was about 2.5 hours, plus the kebab stop we had. So it could have been 3 hours. Good food on the highway, I can tell you.
Just one stop?
Just one stop. They saw my ticket when I got off, man. Couldn't believe it. Funny story. Anyway, I love the Turks. They were good to me, though. They were good.
No, they're actually good people. I've been to Turkey a few times.
No, definitely.
Likewise.
I remember,
really friendly.
They did. They sold me the ticket to get on this bus, gave me the wrong time, and the bus is on the highway, and then I had to leave the kebab stop I'm at, the first place at the port, to run onto the highway and flag them down. It's like, please let me back on. And they're like, who are you? You sold me a ticket, man. It's like 2 hours ago. You said, come on the bus. And, and then halfway through, you stop it somewhere else, and then they resell your ticket to someone else. It's just lovely. But apart from that...
Real on-the-level stuff, right?
But all good. Everyone, wanted to then give me tea and...
Yeah.
Snacks.
They're lovely people.
Yeah. I got no issues with them. But so Smyrna, Bapuk ended up, from what I understand, Smyrna was there when, the 25 Allied ships were there, not letting people on. So that's kind of the story we have. And then from there, how he got off or survived, not exactly sure. So
you don't really know how he left Asia Minor.
No, we believe that he left through Smyrna and probably through the evacuations that were organised by an American called Asa Jennings. Asa Jennings was a pastor who happened to be in Smyrna at that moment. So he did, I think it was at the YMCA or something like that. And Ataturk's troops came through. Massacres had been occurring. The Greek army had already fled, and all these people were trapped along the docks. You got the fire happening across the Christian Quarter. So basically, everyone was pretty much trapped. Teenagers were meant to be sent to the interior. So I don't know exactly how old Bapuk would have been, but somehow or another he was able. I mean, Onassis was one of the boys. He was able to get away. There was quite a few that get away. Asa Jennings, in a nutshell, was able to strike a deal with Ataturk. So he bribed Turkish guards to get to see Ataturk. Ataturk kind of laughed at him, but in a nice way, said, "There's no way you're going to get these Greeks out of here." Asa Jennings, we've always got some interesting feelings towards Americans, but Asa Jennings, as an American, linked in with an American frigate that happened to be in the harbour, who had already taken refugees. No one else was taking him, and he worked out with the captain that they should go to Mytilene, which wasn't that far away. And in Mytilene, they try and speak to the Greek government, and that the Americans backed him. He went over to Mytilene. The defeated Greek navy was in the harbour, so 25 ships. No one wanted to, apart from one captain, Theophanes, no one wanted to come help Asa Jennings. So he kind of negotiated with the Greek government using Theophanes' radios and stuff like that. You got to understand that Greece was about to go through a coup, and the government knew they were on their last legs. But Asa Jennings basically shamed the Greek government to give him the 25 ships, plus recall 25 ships from Piraeus to send them to Smyrna.
Wow!
And this man, he was a hunchback. He was like 5 foot something. He had a problem with his back. He was a Christian but not Orthodox. They gave him command of 50 ships.
Wow.
He's the admiral. So he and Theophanes. They went back to Smyrna with the American frigate, and they rescued, I think, about 300,000 Greeks. So we assume that one of them was Bapuk.
Wow.
And a lot of those people end up in Mytilene. So it's a good. Mytilene's a very important city, and Lesbos is very, very
absolutely.
important.
Mary Koustas, who's on the show, had a similar story, didn't she, about her grandmother?
Her grandmother,
Or her great-grandmother, I think it was.
Actually, yes, it was her great-grandmother. Just to sort of recap on that, crossing the Aegean with a dead baby in your arms. Just unbelievable stories like that. And there are just so many, countless, the amount of stories there are about that. And they're still being told.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure we remember them. Like, you mentioned before, Turkish people, fantastic people. They are lovely. Like, the amount of times they've come over to Lesbos, or I've gone over to see them, or, I used to work in West Sydney, so I did a lot of projects with Turkish groups. They always treated me well. Actually, I got a lot of special treatment because I was Greek. Even when I went to a port one year in Turkey, the moment that I started speaking Greek, the Turkish captain of the port came up to me and just helped me with everything I needed. It was really good. And in Western Sydney, when I was doing stuff, the Turks always, whatever Billy needs, help him. It was really good. So I think it was, we took everything from you, but we're going to help you.
Yeah. It's important in this day and age to sort of, the history is the history, but being able to decouple the people and, people like you and I exist on the other side as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being able to decouple that from the politics, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember interviewing, I had a documentary called Lesbos Falling in Love, and a friend of mine, Zeli, who's kind of famous, or, he's very important on Lesbos, she's an artist and photographer, introduced me to a friend from Turkey. So she's a soap actress and I think film star or whatever. And it was just interesting hearing what she had to say. She's like, she comes to Lesbos, she loves it, the kind of, maybe stretched it a little bit, the kind of two sides of the same sort of apple. We are a little bit different, obviously.
For sure.
But she had this big love for Lesbos and Greeks. And, this is a Turkish movie star, TV soap opera star, who was very positive about Greeks and Greece and the future. And I thought it was quite good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Erdogan has never been in a TV series. Maybe he should be.
Politics is another thing, but when you talk to the normal person on the ground, we're all the same.
Mate, fantastic, especially on the Aegean coastline where a lot of them speak Greek.
Yeah.
When you tell them, I was asked why are you going to a village called Karagatsi? You're from Greece, you're from Australia. Just go to the beach, man. It's like, no, my papu's from me. Oh, okay, I'm going to get you there. Make sure, whatever you need, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
When I was there in Turkey as well, Istanbul and so forth, they definitely looked after me, I said I was Greek-Australian, and they even looked after me more. I said, oh, sure. And as I was touring around as well, I needed to get to Gallipoli. I had to get to a place called Çanakkale. And I had a couple of guys just escorted me to the right bus, and they couldn't speak a word of English. But I can't fault them enough when I was there. Very hospitable people. But anyway, I think we've gone a little bit off topic, Tom.
No,
it's very interesting stuff.
But it is. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, look, to say that you do a lot of travelling is a massive understatement. What made you start travelling? Did it start off just as I'm going for a holiday and I discovered all this, all this interesting stuff, or the other way around?
I learnt the joys of credit cards. So putting everything on a credit card and then,
worry about it later.
No, it's funny, we were talking about Turkey and Asia Minor, and that's part of the reason why I started travelling. So I was, I hadn't been to Greece for a long time, about 12 years, and my great auntie said, why don't you go to Karagatsi in Ayvali and find your papu's village? That kind of got me thinking about travelling a bit more in Greece, because I think that was like the summer of '99, and all I was doing was, I was still at uni. But I was partying. I was on Lesbos, and then I'd be back in Athens, and then Porto Heli, and all I'd be doing is just party. I remember this is going to sound really bad, so people think I'm a good boy, but you remember 48 hours of partying and drinking at Porto Heli with some Greeks that I met.
How old were you?
21, I think.
Yeah, that's normal, standard.
And everyone was really good, right? But that one really good experience was going across to what was Asia Minor, going to Turkey and saying, okay, there's some Greek history here. There's some churches still around and all that.
Yeah. So tell us about what did it feel like walking into this village where your grandfather was from?
Yeah,
and
surreal.
Did you meet locals? Did you meet any people with Greek ethnicity possibly?
I had an enjoyable time in Ayvali, and I think that was good. But when I got there, I just felt really... I don't know, it just felt like a really isolated kind of village, and I didn't really want to, and I didn't have a car, so I didn't really want to speak to anyone, so I was just walked around, and this is like, yes, it's 99, there were still houses at that time, kind of run down, so you're seeing these houses, so you've got the main village, and then these other houses that are run down. They kind of look like the houses that would have been there from a while back, so it hadn't been tidied up, or they, might have been used and then just, got into disuse, I guess. And I just thought, I don't really want to engage with anyone. And the times that I've gone back, I actually don't engage with them. They all look really friendly, but it's just, if I'm in Ayvali, I'll talk to people. If I'm in Karagatsi, it just feels a bit, this is Papu's village, and, the Greeks were here, now he's not. So I try not to.
Did you find the house where he lived in by any chance?
No.
Okay.
He said he had a 4-bedroom mansion, and the Greek villas. It would be impossible to find. I mean, he's got some letters that he wrote in Greek. My cousin Bill has got. So Bill, if you're listening, or when you're listening, I need those letters. I need to translate them. So in that we hope to. There's a big pile, so he's got a hold of them. So hopefully we can learn a little bit more. But going back to the original that question, so Turkey kind of kickstarted the process, but it was something else that kind of got me thinking about more travels and seeing Greeks. So it was, don't look at how cool I am now. I was a bit of a nerd, right? So there was a group of nerds that used to catch up, Greek nerds, and we'd talk Greek history and stuff like that. And one guy is a guy called Panagiotis Diamandi, who is an academic, and if he's listening, I'd take the nerd thing back in case he stops talking to me. So he, thing about Panagiotis is he runs the Hellenic Holocaust Centre. It's an academic. He's a HEPA New South Wales secretary, so he's quite a switched on character. But he gave me this article called "The Children of Magna Graecia." Because we'd sit around and talk about Greek stuff, and he said, "Here you go, read this, Billy." And I had a read of it, and it was a really good article. It would have been 2000 or 2001. I said, I'm going to go see these people. And yeah, that's what I did. Booked a trip with my girlfriend. We went to Europe, found some other places. But yeah, so her and I went all the way down to Calabria. So we're travelling by train. Had this article, and it was funny. We got to this place called Bova Marina. Actually, we got to Reggio. We told them we're looking for Greeks, and they said, you catch another train, you go to Bova Marina. And the beautiful thing is when you tell someone in Reggio that you're looking for Greeks, they get really excited. So you're from Australia. Oh my God, this man at the, it was a tourist museum kind of thing, gave us big hugs and all like, geez, man, is he pickpocketing me or anything? No, but just a beautiful man. He's like, trying to explain that, his great-grandparents would have been Greko. Obviously, these days is Calabrian. But yeah, we're really excited to see us. We get to a place called Bova Marina. I've got this article, and there's all these people listed. Filippo Violi, I've got one of his books here. A guy called Carmelo Nocera. You just come out and you just say, we're looking for Greeks. I've got an article. Do you know these people? And it's a small town, and they make a couple of phone calls, like, sit here. Like 15 minutes. Yeah. Almost half the people in this article
start coming out the woodworks.
And this man Carmelo Nocera especially, he looked after us on the next few days. So and I'm still friends with him to this day, and he's the president of one of the Greko associations. But so it's just all that inspired us a little. It inspired me definitely to try and understand a little bit more about Greek migration, the Greek language, where Greeks have been. And from that moment, I thought, I'm gonna get out there and get some more stories. Or Cosmos was publishing my stories at the time.
Yep.
So it was a good little vehicle.
Yeah.
And I made a promise to Carmelo and some of the people I met that I would do my little bit over a lifetime, I guess, to try and spread the word about what they're about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that sort of leads in neatly into the film that is about to premiere. Tell us a little bit about what it's all about. Give us a quick summary, and why did you decide to make this film?
Yeah, well, we're trying to get funding for another Die Hard, but nobody wanted to fund it. It's like, come on, man, seriously, get over it. Bruce Willis doesn't want to do it. Come on. I guess part of it was trying to do something for the Grekos. So I got a mate of mine, Baz. So Baz and I had been doing some documentaries in different places. So, Mykonos, Lesbos, done a couple of things in London as well too. A couple of short films, which not many people thought were great. For the record, they're great. So we thought we'd get over there. MJ Chickens and a HEPA and a couple of us chipped in with some money.
Oh, wow.
I funded the rest. So from that, we shot in Calabria and Apulia. And we made three films
Wow.
and documented what towns existed. And having not been there for, I think it was a gap of 18 years, whatever, it was just good to get back and see, what's changed, what hasn't. And, being able to capture that on the film. And the beauty of it all was, when I was there in 2002, I thought that the language would probably be dead within 20 or 30 years. On this particular trip, we met a lot of younger people who'd picked up Greko, who could speak Greko or were born speaking Greko.
Right.
And I guess they're the future. So, and they come up in the documentary, which is great. But the challenge is it's Calabria. It's the deep. It's like the deep south, right?
Yep.
Except there's no deep south racism. It's the deep south, and there's very few employment opportunities. It's not like you wake up in Bovamarina and it's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go to our 10-story corporate office to do some work today. It's really hard. So a lot of people, most of them tend to move away.
Right.
So
you say a boy from Arena. What did you just say? A boy from Arena? Do you say the town?
Bovamarina.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry.
There probably is a boy from Arena. But
because I do know the town Arena in Calabria. Right. And I thought, I know someone from there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I thought, is that a Greko town by any chance?
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. Sorry, I threw you off a bit.
Right. Yeah, there's not that many Greko towns left, unfortunately.
How many are there?
It's a good question. It's $1 million question. So look, you've got some say 8 or 9.
Mm-hmm.
So God bless Wikipedia, they'll tell you something which may or may not be true.
Sure.
The authentic towns are ones where you maybe every third person or maybe every person speaks Greko, would be Garacciano. So which is where I picked up some little souvenirs.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
And when I was there, my friends,
frame.
Yeah, they make it all in their little village. Their souvenirs.
For those who can't see, it's obviously a little painted picture with an easel and a spoon, and it almost looks like a Greek island, but obviously it's Calabria.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a little kiosk, right? And it's almost like a self-service kiosk. Just leave your money, take the stuff. But the guy who makes them, he just happened to be there when I was there on when was it? July. I was there in July, and so I'm like, I'm trying to get rid of all my money, right? I thought, how do I just want to help them a little bit more. I'd offered donations to others or whatever. They're like, no. The fact that you come here and you've written articles, it's fine. We got to look after you. It's like, no, I'm all right. So anyway, I'm like, all right, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. So I got about 10 souvenirs, and he's just taking them off me, and he's like, no, you only need like 3 or 4 souvenirs. Dude, I just want to give you something, right? He's like, no. You just take 3 or 4 souvenirs, and just give me €20. It's fine. It's like, dude, I want to buy all your souvenirs. He was like haggling with me. He's like, what don't you want?
Buy less.
I'm trying to help
it's like
you.
the reverse haggle.
Oh my God.
I want to buy it. No, you don't.
You don't want this stuff.
Just buy 1 or 2. Don't buy 10.
What are you going to do with it?
No wonder they're struggling economically. The beautiful town, right? It's the guy that I hang out with is a guy called Danilo Bandelemion. Sorry, Danilo, if I got that wrong.
Bandelema, that's my son's name.
Oh, perfect
The one that you met.
Great. See, there you go.
That's a sign.
That's a sign.
Yeah,
it is actually.
Yeah.
Danilo's an amazing bloke, right? And he's taken me here a few times to Garacciano, introduces me to all his mates. Pretty much everyone in this village speaks Greko. There's probably only about 50 people, 60 people left. A friend of mine, Cotsis, has written about the Greko as far back as 1990. He's got a book. He estimated there were 200 people when he went there in the 80s, so went a couple of times. When I was there in 2002, I reckon there was about 100 people. It was beautiful when we went there the first time around. The whole village kind of followed us around. It was amazing.
Which village was this?
So this is Garacciano. So it's
okay.
where I got these little souvenirs from.
Okay.
It's in the mountains, not that high up, and it's just fascinating. It's the last proper 100% Greko village, and it's, in my opinion, the most important Greek village outside of Greece, I think.
And what was the population, you said, of the village?
It's dwindled. It's about 50 now. And you've got, it would have been about 150 to 200 when Cotsis went in the 80s. About 100, 150 when I was there in 2002. And and it's now about 50 people.
And they all speak the Greko language.
I think there's only 1 or 2 that struggle with it, but they're all, it's all Greko.
I think it's probably important for us to maybe explain how these communities came about. So in terms of the history, I understand that there were Greek settlements in that part of what is now Italy almost 3,000 years ago, 2,800 years or so ago. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you understand that they came to be there?
Yeah, definitely. And it's, as you said, 3,000 years ago, 2,800 years ago. This was, and in the subsequent centuries, that's a peak period of colonization across the Black Sea, across the Mediterranean. It's golden era for Greeks and Greek expansion. The southern part of Italy, it was more or less it was a Greek lake.
Yeah.
So, and hence the name Greater Greece, Magna Graecia. Even the name Greece originates from Iperos, from a town, but it was the Italians, it was the Greeks and the Latins who came up with Greece.
It's the Latinized name,
yeah. So it's a lot of towns, a lot of cities in Greece were sending colonies out. They're looking for opportunities to expand. There was a population boom as well too. So a lot of people ended up in what we called Calabria, Puglia, Basilicata, and a couple of other territories in Italy. There were Greek colonies all over. And it was, as it was Greater Greece, Magna Graecia, it was the language spoken, the main language, the lingua franca was Greek.
Yeah.
So, and it just grew from there. And then the beauty of where these people were in Sicily as well too, you've got a lot of Greek towns. It's not all, Sicily wasn't all Greek. You had the Phoenicians there, Carthaginians, and so forth. But it's just beautiful, the trade between all the Greeks there. Marseille, Nice, all those. Marseille was the biggest Greek city until probably Syracuse surpassed it. And this was Greece. So you go to Greece these days, and everyone speaks Greek and blah blah blah. There's a lot of tourists as well. That was southern Italy. That was Region. That was Syracuse. That was all these places. It was a Greek heartland. Everyone was pretty much Greek.
So what you're saying is that Greeks invented Italy.
We did. You ever see them play football and they dive and the prima donnas and all that? It's a Greek thing.
Do we claim that, or will you say that's the Italian?
That's true.
Wow, fascinating. So look, go back to Calabria and the other towns you mentioned. So what part of Greece did they migrate from? Do you know?
It's all over. There were colonies. From the Peloponnese, from Corinth, from Athens. Mm-hmm. So basically anyone who was any city that was quite large at the time, apart from Sparta, pretty much had colonies.
Prosperous city, I guess.
Yep. And then you've got, and then it's topped up by, Ipero, and then you've got King Pyros. Yep, great part of the world. The colonies came from all over the Greek mainland, sending surplus of people and also looking for the trade opportunities. So there would have been, I estimated from memory, there would have been about 10 city-states plus, that would have contributed colonies.
Yeah, that's fascinating, Billy. Look, what kind of, I understand the ancient Greeks had different dialects. They all didn't speak the Greek we speak today. Even the word molon lave, it's not Greek. It is a Greek, but it's a Greek dialect as well. So what type of dialects did they speak back then? Because there are a few. There's the Doric, there's the Ionic, there's the Attic, then Arcado, Cyprus. There's quite a few.
Yeah, so that's territory. It's probably a little bit above my pay grade, but it very similar to Greece. So it depends on where they would have come. Mm-hmm. Would have been the four main dialects, but over a period. So there's three different hypotheses over the language question of the Greco origin, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a few academics that came from Greece in the last century or two to study it and provide this sort of interpretation. In a nutshell, the easiest way to look at it is, depending on who set up the colony or who'd set it up, if it was a Doric dialect, if it was Ionian, it kind of remained the same. So for the first century or two of a colony's founding, pretty much just an extension of wherever they'd come from. So if it was from Athens, whatever. But over a period, because like I said, this is Greece. This really is Greece. These people, there's a lot of mountains and difficult to traverse, but they did get around. They were able to sort of go to other cities, and there was a lot of commerce, obviously. It was a very wealthy part. So Magna Graecia was very wealthy, as opposed to today where Calabria is the lesser, its economy is very weak compared to the rest of Italy. So that language kind of merged a little bit. And then it was topped up and reinforced in the medieval parts. Before that century before Constantinople fell, a lot of Greeks came from parts that had either fallen to Venice or had fallen to the Ottomans. And obviously when Constantinople fell, when the Peloponnese fell, a lot of people came across to a place like Venice, but also to Calabria and Apulia as well too. And they brought their Greek, which was more of a unified language. So that kind of merged in with the Greek that existed, plus whatever Latin words were used or in circulation as well too. So you've got a real kind of blend of a Greek language, which has become Greko.
So Greko's a language on its own now.
Well,
or it's just
I never want to answer that question because I don't want to lose its connection to Greek. And you mentioned Cyprus. Cyprus, Crete, places like that. You kind of feel like you go to those places. I kind of feel like I'm listening to Calabrian Greko, and vice versa as well too. So it's still Greek.
I mean, it's interesting because there are some people who say that Cypriot Greek is actually closer to what ancient Greek would have sounded like. Have you heard that before? Is that correct?
I'd probably tend to agree with that. Notwithstanding that I'm not a linguist, but I think the Cypriots, the way that they were cocooned for quite a few centuries. Obviously, they passed between the British, the French, the Ottomans, Venetians, all these people. But the dialect, they're Greek. For me, it wasn't reformed like Athens and all those to bring it into a modern Greek or standard modern Greek. So they kept, in my opinion, I think they've kept a more authentic Greek language.
Really?
Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of people listening who are just like, what, are you nuts? Because I mean, there's such a huge divide between what modern Greek sounds like compared to what Cypriot sounds like. Yeah. I mean, it's virtually another language. I mean, it's Greek, but it's something else entirely, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, the Cretans are the same. Even on Lesbos, we've got villages where we speak a little bit differently.
Yes. My godparents, my godfather's parents were, from Mytilene as well, and mate, they spoke a very different dialect.
My apologies.
No, they were like grandparents to me. I love them to bits.
Good. Are you sure they're from Lesbos? No, I'm kidding.
From Andisa.
Oh, right. Okay. I won't say anything bad about Andisa. No, beautiful town. Very nice. They've also got a local association as well too.
They do.
Good people.
Absolutely. Can't speak highly enough of them.
Again, back to the Greco language, are there any schools that you know of that they teach the language, or is it just through the household, through parents and generations?
And this is one of the problems. Not really. So there's Dodomadi Greko. They run like a mini school around August every year. So people from all around the world come, and it's trilingual. So a young woman called Maria Olimpia Squillaci, she put these classes together some years back, and they've continued. So, she was heavily pregnant July, August, and she was there, helping teach these classes. So you've got that going on. There's some language which is taught in Reggio. So Reggio, Carmelo Lucera's got an association there. They teach language, but I think it's both. I think they're doing both, standard modern Greek and Greco. And then there's another little tiny school above a restaurant called Mesoion in Bova Marina. So the guy there's got his own association, but I think he's been pushing a lot of the modern Greek as well as Greco as well. So it's not like you go to the schools and you're being taught Greco. Maria Olimpia was able to get a few successes. So I met a lot of school kids when I was there, not on this last trip before, when we shot the films. Met some kids from a town called Palitsi, and Greco had pretty much stopped there a while back. But the kids, they'd been taught to sing, they'd been taught a few words and how to count, and they put together, they even wrote out, the days of the week for me, numbers, and in Greco, which is really good. It was an oral language. So this is the other thing too. In Calabria, you're not talking about Harvard University or Cambridge. This is Calabria, right? So most people were people that work with their hands and agriculture and working in the mountains. So you're not really getting schools and schooling and universities. It wasn't a big priority. Okay. The 1900s, 1800s, 1700s. So it wasn't like Venice. So the language persisted as an oral language,
right?
And obviously Italian being the language that people, Latinized characters, what people were using. So it hasn't really been part of that curriculum. In Apulia, they do teach it, the Griko, K-O as opposed to Greko with an E. So in some of the towns like Kalimera, they do teach some of the classes. There's
a town called Kalimera.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice.
It's next to the one that's Yasu, which is great.
Wow. What about
See, I have to take everything with a grain or two of salt with this bloke.
I know, especially the text.
I can see it.
I thought you were going to say there's Kalinichta around the corner.
Actually,
So that's where I thought it was going.
well, Kalimera, there's 2 towns down. But,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Kalimera was an awesome place, right? You walk in, there's like Greco poets, rather.
Yeah, fill me up, mate.
Little museums. They got a sign that says
Billy, what's
JFK Street. Now I'm all good.
No.
Beautiful, beautiful town. All these people that can still speak Greco, which is great. And then murals that are in Greco. It's great. It's a very strong. It's a stronger kind of community because they're closer to Greece. The towns are connected very easily. They're all flat. There's a little bit more money. So in Calabria, it's the last remaining towns. They're all they're isolated. And, town like Gadaciano, with its Greco, which is a really old dialect. Where are you going to use it? Like it's hard for these people. So they've over 50 to 100 years. They've all moved out of Calabria. What are they doing with Greco? They're not going to Greece. They're not going to Cyprus. The language fades.
Yeah.
With it, it's that we lose that connection to history. I met a poetess who's since died. Unfortunately, a lot of people over the last 4 years, between my last 2 trips, they've passed away. And one lady, poetess, beautiful, beautiful woman who we met in Reggio, she explained how academics would come to her home in a town called Rogudi, and they'd study the language, they'd live with the family. It was amazing. This town Rogudi was again also in a mountain, and it was like it's like a valley mountain and a dry river that comes through. Unfortunately, 1973, and in that era, there were a lot of landslides, so they moved the whole village. So
Wow.
was it 500 people or whatever? And I was there in July with Danilo. It's a ghost town. There's nothing there. I met a woman and a grandson. They came along. She said, this used to be my village. Blah blah blah. Does your grandson speak Greco? No, or a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate. They lost all those people in this really authentic town. It's just sad. That's our living history. That's a connection to ancient Greek language, dialects.
It's funny you say that because you say it is dying. However, I did read an article.
Well, not necessarily dying. It's
shifting.
It's struggling. It was dying.
Yeah.
I think the work that Maria Olympia, Danilo, Eleonora, Freedom, some other people that I met.
Even from a greater scale, I did read that one of the main roads are going to rename it Magna Graecia. Did you read that? One of the main roads out of Calabria?
I hope so.
Yeah, I'll find the article. There's definitely there's a big push to change the name of it. And there's a football team called Croton.
Yes.
Which they're very proud of their Greek heritage as well. So they're definitely shifting, I guess, from certain things, from small village, but to, renaming roads and football teams and so forth.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. I mean, in some of the towns you've got, like in Bova Marina, Vua, which is on the mountain ahead of Bova Marina. They've got the place, the street names are all in modern Greek, which is really cool to see. And then other places you go and it's in Greco and Greek, like Gadaciano. So it's cool like that. Yep. The more that they can rename, the better. There are Magna Graecia museums.
So you mentioned one that's in Reggio, you said.
The museum, yeah. And they've got a lot. You walk in there, it's like, I think if you include the basement, it's like 5 levels. It's really state-of-the-art. For a small city, it's a really state-of-the-art museum. And almost all the artifacts, maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion, but almost all the artifacts and finds are Greek. Then you go out into other small cities, towards Lockery, for example, and there's another, small museum, and it's mostly Greek finds as well. It's really cool.
So it sounds like it wasn't just one immigration push. There was several over 1,000 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
A high number.
Yep.
Okay, so it would be hard to determine what part of Greece they're from because there was several over the years, and you said from Constantinople to all the other areas that may have shifted cultures. or invaders, I guess, prospered. Okay, that's fascinating. You said.
I can't help but think as well, though, you hear the stories about the Greek language trying to survive Turkish occupation during those, 300-400 years, right? These are languages and areas that are now in a country where the dominant language is obviously Italian, and yet it's remarkable that these communities have been able to keep that Greco language alive through almost 3,000 years, isn't it?
It is, and you mentioned the Turks, right? And this is one really big difference, and I'll talk about the Catholics in a second. Because we were a millet, or we were our own nation, and the patriarch, as long as he wasn't being a douchebag to the Sultan, it wasn't ribbing him or, betting against his football team, whatever. The Sultan generally lets the church control most of the affairs, as long as, you give us a lot of your kids, which is a bit disgusting, pay your taxes, we were generally fine until that era of genocide and all that. So the Greek language was prevalent, and obviously the sultans generally lent on Greeks to be part of the administration. So the Phanariots were amazing. Constantinople in Romania, most of the princes of Romania were Greek. So we were unlucky to be under the Turks, but lucky in that the church was able to control a lot of the affairs. And some people will say, oh no, that's not right, the church was bad, blah, blah, blah. I can tell you this, without the church and the Millet nation, we would probably have lost a lot. Certainly the language, imagine if we were forced to learn Arabic or Turkish or something else. So, but in the end, Greek was actually the second language of the Ottoman Empire. So, you travel through the Mediterranean because we were trading. A lot of churches were still operating. Greek was the language.
Well, even during the Roman Empire, for example, we're talking the period of like 78 to 28 BC or so, where you've got the likes of Julius Caesar, Cicero, and all these guys. The academic language of the day was Greek.
Yep. Yeah. And a lot of them studied in Greece.
Yes.
Greece was the university at the time.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius wrote his memoirs in Greek.
Yep. So, so we're fortunate that language, until probably 1600s, 1700s, Greek of some sort, of some description was a key language, and people don't always realise that. And that's why a lot of the places I've been to, they've still got, some of these communities still speak Greek because of that era of Greek trade or Greek churches or connections to the Romans or the Ottomans, and that they spoke Greek. In Italy, unfortunately, for our Catholic listeners, I guess we do like them, but the Vatican had a lot to do with the downfall of Greco and these Greek communities. So overnight, in one era, they took control of the Greek churches, and then one by one, over a period, there was a lot of holdouts, but I think the last Greek monastery must have shut its doors the 1700s at some point.
Was this done by force or through other means?
A bit of, it wasn't like, this is the Turkish-Greek genocide where they're just the Turks are coming to wipe us out. It was just basically Constantinople's long gone. There's no Greek control. There's no one there to support you. So the Vatican's come in, and they've either you're part of what we're doing as the Catholic Church or that church, so you can be part of us, or you can go back to Greece. And they're obviously from Calabria. Right. They're obviously from Apulia. So they had to change. So that church had to take the right that was offered by the Vatican.
And is that what the decisions were? It was either you become Catholic or go back to Greece.
Yeah, and you're not from Greece because you're from Calabria. So it's the
insane
case.
Because the same was happening on the other side, with Turkey, because there were Greeks or Turks who were Christians, and and vice versa, and they decided to to sort of split us down religious lines.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
It is, and that's probably the single biggest contributing factor in losing the Greek identity across the south of Italy. So, people retained their Greekness and knowing that they're Greek and the Greco language, but the right shifted from being Greek and it's now Catholic, Italian or Latin or whatever it is, and so over a century or two, the shift towards being of Greek or Greco to an Italian or Calabrian, it's you see it there, and that changed, and then people are moving out because there's poverty, so economic reasons. So Greco, what would have been that real Greek lake, it's gone in 200-300 years. Yeah.
So you're saying it was littered with Orthodox churches and they're all Orthodox, but now there's none.
So like I said, the last one, could have even been 1790 or something. Don't quote me on that. But, the last Greek monastery shut its doors. But I met a Greek Orthodox priest so there were, here and there, there'd be Greek Orthodox priests coming to Calabria. Mm-hmm. I guess, trying to sort of, I don't know, win over some of the flock, I guess. I don't know how you'd look at it. But, I remember...
Do some poaching.
Find this fee for God.
That's it.
2002, I remember there was a monk who was somewhere deep into Calabria. I never met him, but I'd heard the rumours. And then in that era, a few years before, in Graziano, they created a Greek church. So there's two churches in the village. One's a Catholic and one's the Greek Orthodox. And the man who holds the key, I hadn't seen him for 20 years until this year. Wonderful man. He's got the key for the Greek church. You ever want to pop in and pray? Just go find Mr. Nucera. He'll look after you. But that's a church that comes under the Patriarch. Right. And interesting story, sort of an interesting story. There, it's a very poor area, Calabria. Yep. In 2000 or 2001, I think, they arranged for the Patriarch to come and visit, right, to inaugurate the church and do all that. So everyone was really excited that the locals put money into creating a road because it was a dirt road. It was hard to get up. Sure. So they put all these millions of dollars or euros, whatever, into a new road so that the Patriarch wouldn't feel uncomfortable and he can drive up and all that. Mm. Turns out on the day they flew him down with a helicopter. And they dropped him off.
At least they got a good ride out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I remember when I was in Rome, there's actually a couple of Orthodox monasteries an hour outside of Rome.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, in 95. And it was in The Lonely Planet, one of the guidebooks when I was backpacking. And they said that they got really good red wine, so head to the Greek monastery. I thought, wow. And I did it for a day trip, went out. And I sat in there and it was beautiful. I was on my own and no joke, the priests were like 70 years plus and they did all their hymns and I just sat in the pew and I thought, wow, it's like being at home. It's like my upbringing. Then when it finished, I went out the back and then, I bought a couple of bottles of their red wine, the homemade red wine, which was dirt cheap.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Was it good? Or was it battery acid?
You know what? It reminded me of my dad's wine. Yeah, it was really good. Look,
homemade drop.
It's like some people love it at dinner. Yeah. Some people hate it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's one of those. But for me, it was.
It's rough. We know the type. Yeah, it was.
It wasn't blessed properly. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's it. That's what it is.
Yeah, they might have forgot a few lines.
The Catholics got involved.
Yeah.
Well, it's important to remember as well. There are. Catholic churches in Greece as well.
I was just going to say, in Tinos as well. Tinos is half the island's Catholic.
Yeah.
And they've got Catholic churches. And I think we mentioned in one of our last episodes, Tom, Santorini.
Yes.
There was like over, was it 20 odd, whatever the number was. There's a shitload of Catholic churches there. But the thing is, I don't think the Orthodox, again, you can quote me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they try and distinguish these. They promote it and they embrace it, other cultures.
We'll take it, man. It's like Lesos Mytilene. The main church is a former Catholic or non-Orthodox church there, and we promote it. It looks really nice. We'll take it. Santorini itself is renamed by the Italians. Saint Irini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Una fazza, una razza.
Yeah.
We like them.
And there are some prominent Greeks who are actually Catholic as well. So Marco Vanvakari, the legend of Rebetika, Catholic, not Greek Orthodox. Anyway,
I'm going to strike him off my list now. No.
We don't want to do a DNA test because when you do a DNA test, they say you're either Southern Italian or Greek. So they bucket us in the same pool.
They do.
I can't do another DNA test, man. I know I'm Turkish.
Have you done it?
Okay. No.
Have you done one?
It'll say like 90% Turkish or something. I can see it.
Yeah, but it could be Asia Minor. Greeks were there first, weren't they?
We sure were.
Depends how far back you go.
Going back to the Greek Orthodox stuff, I did meet a Greek Orthodox priest in Reggio. So there's a church they established a few years ago. And again, my friend Maria Olympia put me in touch with a guy. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Former academic. He's written books. He knows his Greko heritage. And he just basically woke up one day and said, you know what? I'm Greko. I need to be Greek Orthodox. Yeah. I need to be connected to the Greeks. So that was it. They set up their ministry. I thought, fantastic. Really good.
Wow, what a story.
Well, being the only Greek
divine
Orthodox.
intervention.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I'm converting.
Wow.
I wonder what that would involve at this point, like, converting from one to the other.
Well, Catholic I think, you just got to stop eating pizza and drinking ouzo or something, right? Isn't that what they do?
Is that what they do? He's making this up as he goes along.
Stop having pizza and amaro and then have ouzo and a souvlaki.
Yeah. That's it.
And then you're converted.
That's the rite of passage.
That's it. Stop dancing the tartadella and do the zorba.
That's how you can prove.
That's it. Do those three things. Convert that, and that, you're Greek.
Well, look, it's fascinating, this whole thing. But going back to how, it's obviously a documentary now. Tell us, when is it actually premiering? How can people see it after the fact?
So this is the third of a trilogy, but it's the best out of the three. November 13 at Norton Street Palace Cinema. So we thought we'd play, or AHEPA would play it in Little Italy. Tickets are through AHEPA. Be there or be square or something.
Can you get tickets at the door?
No, I think they're on track to sell out. So,
wow.
Yeah. So there's AHEPA's got a page. I've put up a page as well too. So look up AHEPA, I guess, and you can probably find the details.
Or they can reach out to us, I guess, at Ouzo Talk.
Definitely, that'd be really good. It'd be great to get people on, because the idea of that film is, I'm not selling anything. It's not a case of, once you're here, money comes to me or anything like that. It's watch the film. And if there's something you can do to help the Greko, right? I'm not telling you to speak to Maria Olympia. I'm not telling you to speak to Carmelo Nucera or find an association. Think of ways you can help. So, if you can reach out to them, visit them. I've got a group of mates who are going to go next year to that little school that they do in August. Donate to one of their campaigns. Learn Greko, buy one of their products. But none of that's connected to me. It's basically, what can you do to help the Greko?
The community.
Exactly. To make sure that, the next generation or two continues, and I'll keep going back. I'm going to go next year again. Whenever I can, I'll keep in touch with them. I'll do my little bit. It's a case of what we can do, because I see them as living, breathing Greek statues, except they've got all the pieces and arms and stuff like that. And they're not all white. Some of them are like olive skin like me. That's how I see them. I see them as that connection to our past. So Greko will survive, but the numbers are dwindling, and
will survive thanks to people like you. But more importantly, what kind of alcohol do they make? Do they make ouzo there?
Do you know what? I was at a bar with Danilo and some Calabria, some Brazilians, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, of all the places in the world to find Brazilians, and so we're at the bar, and they said, "Oh, he's Greek. And so the woman behind the bar, she pulls out a bottle of ouzo. And that's what we were drinking.
Wow. What type
so Brazilians had never had ouzo, and I never heard of it. It was a brand I'd never come across. So I think it might have been locally produced. But
you'd think it'd be all about the grappa in that sort of region.
I love it.
Probably. I know
there.
that
If you say grappa, I'm there.
I don't really drink much, so drinking today, Alcoholics Anonymous on Monday won't be happy with me. Sorry guys.
Me and Tom are on our third glass, and I think you're just halfway through your first.
But
it's like a bit strange. You walked in, you ordered a coffee. I was like, what? Called ouzo Talk.
Yeah, but the way you get around it is you put a little bit of ouzo in the coffee. We've spoken about this before.
We have. We should have. But you're getting there, mate. You're getting there. I'm waiting for it to top you up, actually.
But a lot of locals gave me bottles of wine. So sorry, their own homemade produce. Yep. So it's quite good.
Red wine or white?
Well, UB40 told me to do that, red wine. So I went with that.
Exactly what I thought.
It's pretty good, but trying to explain to them, they're like Greeks, man.
So they are.
I don't
like
want
Greeks.
the cheese. I don't want the wine. Like, I'm here to see you. I can't take it with me to Greece again or Australia. No, you can smuggle it. It's like, no, I can't.
Yes.
Got
in a Pepsi bottle.
Classic. Yes.
That's your story.
That's my story, yeah. So, do they have that philotimo gene you're saying, because they're like Greek? What makes you think they're Greek?
Mate, there is everything about it. It's the philotimo gene is there. It's always has been, right? The different trips that I've taken, you walk through these towns and people want you to come inside. So I had people come. They're poor, right?
They can't do enough for you.
They can't, exactly. It's like being in my village in Filia or even Scutaro. They come inside. I've got some bread. I've got some butter. I've got a couple of apples. We're going to share them. That's the way they are, right? And it's, it's heartbreaking to think that most of these people make about, I don't know, 400, 500, 600 euros a month. It's not much money, right? And they're willing to look after you, or spend time with you. And, we're all time poor, but these people, they're willing to give you time. They're all willing to do something for you, which is really good. So it's like being in Greece. And, Danilo especially. I remember we had Maria Olympia had organised something in another town for us to see kids perform and meet some people and stuff. And we're in Garachano one afternoon, and everyone's playing music, right? As you do, right? They opened the taverna just for us that particular day.
Was it a bouzouki?
No. It was the accordion, and people were just dancing and singing. And it was really good. And the guys looking at their watches, they're like, I know it's 4:00 and we should have been at this town half an hour ago, but let's wait. Like, come on, we've really got to go. They're like, no, it's okay.
So they've got the concept of Greek time too. That's in the genes.
Negotiating. I'm like, come on, man. These kids are Maria Olympia waiting for us. It's all right. It's all good.
Wow. Yeah. You know what? It just reminds you of a story when we were in Athens with my cousins.
Go on.
I think I told you this. We're heading to the movies. We're going to go watch a movie, because we're there for a while. I thought, good movie. Kids wanted to watch a movie. We ended up at a cafe, at a bar or whatever, and then I thought, and I'm hurrying everyone up. In Australia, we're all very regimented, quick. It's all by the clock. Guys, we've got 5 minutes. Finish up your drinks. We've got to head off. And everyone's just taking their time. Anyway, we managed. It was a mad rush to get there. And I told my cousins, I go, we're trying to get to the movies. And they go, Nick, in Greece, if that was us, wouldn't have gone to the movies. Wouldn't have bothered. We would have just enjoyed our drink, enjoyed our food. And if we didn't get there, we didn't get there. Stuffy, we don't care. That was the attitude of Greeks. So you're saying that was similar.
Well, that's the culture shock that I had as well. One of the first times I started going to Greece by myself, a cousin of mine said, let's go for coffee. I'm like, okay, let's go. So we go there, and I slammed my coffee down, the way we normally do here. And she's like, what, that's it? I'm like, well, aren't we going somewhere? She's like, no, this is the destination, mate. This is the destination. We sat there for like 4 hours. I'm like, I can't do this. This is surely we're doing something else here.
I see. I had the same.
You need to slow down.
4 hours and one frappe.
Yeah,
it's funny how we've got this Australian kind of way of doing things, right? When I was in Brazil earlier this year, I can't remember, was it a frappe thing that I was drinking, or I don't know, it was just a hot day, and I was just there with a special friend of mine, Anna Marcia, speaks Greek, and I must have drunk it really quick. Well, was it an ice? It was like done in 3 seconds, right? It's the Aussie in me, right? Bang, we're gonna go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And the lady behind the counter, she looked at me and she's like, "Oh my God, what happened? Did it fall down? Do you need another one? Are you okay?" And it's like, no, it's okay. I just finished it really quickly. It's like, that concept of we need to do things really quickly, get it done. I think to these other places. And, whether it's Greek or Brazilian, it's all slow. It's all metinora,
right. Well, they say Sydney's like a little mini New York. Everyone's in a rush. Everyone's going in the same direction.
Mate, we're time poor.
Yeah, we are.
Run.
Yeah, that's why we love going to Greece. We go to Greece.
Time stops.
We relax. Yeah, you take your watch off.
And that's what Calabria is about. It's and in one of the articles I wrote, it's a place that where time stands still. And it's Calabria. It's that part of Calabria, that deep south. It's in the mountains. It's everything pauses. It's really good. Yeah. It's really good.
I think we talked about going to Greece next year, Tom. Maybe we should pop in. What do you reckon?
Absolutely.
Go and see a Calabrian village,
mate. Any excuse to go over there.
Yeah,
I'll use any excuse you want.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm definitely going next year. So, and we're from the same part of Greece, obviously. You know, Epiro, Corfu. It's only
we're close.
Away.
We're close. We can make it happen.
Well, from Corfu,
could skim a rock to
highly recommend going across to Vorio Epiro if you haven't been.
Okay, good.
See the Greek towns. See Saranda.
Yeah.
And you don't need to speak Albanian. Just use your Greek. It's pretty good.
My father-in-law does that trip fairly often. Yes.
Fantastic.
Well, we're from Igoumenitsa. We've got the Amerisma Igoumenitsa now, which is not too far. And again, I know we talked about your extensive travel, so I'm sure you've been to Vorio-Epiros. So tell us about that. What's your experiences through there?
It's been a while, but it was just an extension of Greece. Saranda is, an Albanian city where it's a little port that you get to, but,
it's called
Saranda, 40 saints.
Saranda.
It's just great. The Albanian population, almost everyone speaks Greek. A lot of them have worked in Greece, and quite good. You walk through shops, it's an Albanian shop, and they're playing Greek music. I think the first hour that I was there, I was like, oh wow, Greek music, right? So you pop in and it's like, oh, you're from Greece or something. Oh, no, they've been to Greece. We just like the Greek music, and they speak to me in Greek. It's like, wow.
A lot of bouzoukia in Albania.
Yeah.
A lot.
Really?
It's a mini
was there
Greece.
A few years ago.
Exactly. The south is a mini Greece. There's 100 towns that are Greek Orthodox or Greek speaking, and it's and it's unfortunate that it's not very developed. So there's obviously been those issues with the Albanian government, but it's an extension of Greece.
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
obviously was part of Greece at various times. So it feels like I kind of feel like I was in Iporo. So it is Vorio-Epiros. Yeah. So some of the places where you go to and you see the welcome signs in Greek. It's quite nice. I remember seeing. I popped in. There was a man who was taking me around. Right, he's a Greek guy. He's got a periptero in Saranda. He lent me his dad. He's like, Baba, can you take him on a tour of the villages? And I remember we stopped by this farm, and a man was building a Greek church with ancient Greek columns. And I'm like, well, where'd you get those? It's like, oh, we dug them up.
Oh, you're kidding.
I kid you not.
Jeez.
I'm like, okay.
You dug up ancient Greek columns and you thought, he reused them.
I kid you not. And
Mate,
he's,
in
not
Greece,
reported it.
Recycling antiques.
In Greece, the archaeologia would be on you straight away.
You're shut down. And it's like... Yeah,
because every time you dig there to do anything, you renovate a house or whatever the case is, man, you're finding something.
Yeah.
Well, they're building that metro in Thessaloniki, and now they're building museums now. I thought, shit, we found so much stuff. We got to build.
Well, that's what happened with the Athens metro as well. In the lead up to the Olympics, because that's what the big rush was to sort of finish it, and it was a rush at the end. Let's remember, but. All the stations are bloody museums. Yeah. Even the airport, there's a museum section with stuff that they found on that site.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And the Parthenon Museum as well, when you go, they found so much stuff. I thought, you know what, leave it there. Just put a glass bottle. Yeah. Everyone can just see it.
Yeah, absolutely. But imagine having one of the houses on the slopes of the Acropolis, right?
Oh.
And, say, okay, I've gone in to buy that and I'm renovating that. Mate, you wouldn't be able to do anything in there. It'd be insane.
A brush and a chisel.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of glass.
Yeah. That's why there's no underground parking, or there's buildings that go below sea levels. You just don't want to take the chance. It's, and they can take it away for years. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. Thank God I'm not a developer, but...
Well, it's even in the buildings in Athens, you can't go above the Parthenon. I think there's a rule now in Athens. You can build up, but you can't go past the height of the Parthenon.
I think there's only 2 buildings that are above that. So
there is. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a President Hotel, which is 21, 22 levels, and I think one other place. But yeah, you're right. That's basically
Is that a big fuckalaki, is that what you're saying?
It was a big one, man. It was a folder.
Well, that development at the old airport now, at Hellenic, I'm pretty sure the casino there is going to be taller. I think it's going to be the tallest building in Athens.
Oh, really?
Whether that goes above the height of the Acropolis or not, I'm not sure. But I mean, there's a lot of work happening there at the moment. So I don't know. That's a good one to look into. Send us your emails if you know what the deal is there.
The mayor
if you're
of Athens,
the developer, let us know.
Yeah. The mayor of Athens, come in, write in, let us know what's happening.
Uzotalk@outlook.com.
Yeah, good stuff.
Love it.
Again, you got extensive travel history. We talked about Albania. Are there any other Greek communities out there in the diaspora that you want to talk about that you find fascinating?
I love Belmore. I do. I actually love it.
For those outside of Australia, Belmore is a suburb in Sydney.
Yeah.
People make fun of me, but I love being in Belmore.
So many Greeks in Belmore?
Yeah. You should check out my latest article, Nils Cosmos.
Actually, I did read that. About the Bulldogs, Belmore Church. Mate, how steep are those steps at Belmore Church?
Mate, it's not good for your knees. So if you can use the ramp, go around. In terms of other great places, or there's been Greek communities. I mean, look, take your pick. There's the Beirut Greeks who are fascinating.
Wow,
people.
Beirut Greeks.
Yeah, they're as Greek as it gets, man. There's no like.
How did they get there? Is that from Asia Minor or?
It must be earlier than that even.
It's, in my opinion, so from what I'd seen, I believe there's a continuous presence of Hellenes in Lebanon and Syria from Alexander's time. Syria's got some Greek Muslim town that I'd been to, Al-Hamidiyah, and they were brought across from Crete, so they're Cretans.
Right.
They're Muslim Cretans. They all speak Greek. It's amazing. It's right on the border there, 3 kilometres from the border with Lebanon. But Lebanon itself...
So Muslim, is that from the Ottomans, do you think?
Yeah. So it's the 1800s. The Sultan Hamidiyah brought them across because you could see that the Christians were going to... there'd be some issues. So took a lot of them
speak
away.
Greek.
Yeah. And there's poetry and, like a lot of places I've been to, I was offered to marry.
Wow.
It happens a lot, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got to hear these stories. Come on.
You rhyme with a sailor and you got a wife in every town. Is that what it is?
Pretty much. Or fiancés at least.
They're doing proxies everywhere for you. Good job. What a catch he is.
He is a great catch.
Pretty heavy catch.
Oh?
It's about 150 kilos at this point. So don't catch me.
It's good you can't run away from him.
No, but is that for real? Like you've had
Yeah. Oh, look, Garatenor, for example, first time I'd been there, I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and we're from Australia. A grandma just asked an innocent question to Carmelo or maybe the guy called Pat. Probably Pat, I think. Said, would I consider marrying someone and taking someone from the village? And I'm like, well, that's my girlfriend. I don't think she'd be happy with me. Thanks anyway.
Is that why you go back?
So in some places, in Syria had an offer. There's a few places that, people do ask the question, would you, so,
Okay, this is the list. Every Greek's going now to Syria, Greko town.
I have come to find a wife. Good Greek girl.
And then when the Greek girls see me, they're like, no.
Well, on the flip side, though, have you seen them and thought, fuck, I'm definitely doing this.
I'm always punching above my weight, so for sure. But going back,
Tom's trying to ask, are they good sorts?
Well, I'm trying to ask that nicely.
Some of the most beautiful women I've seen. Oh my God!
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm punching above my weight, so it doesn't matter who it is.
You're a funny guy, charismatic.
Doesn't help sometimes.
You got hair. You got no grey hair.
Too much of it. Look at this.
He's got hair everywhere.
Hair everywhere.
I don't know where to stop shaving in the morning.
Down to your gold chain.
That's right.
Have you heard of that joke? Why Greeks wear gold chains? So they know when to stop shaving.
In the morning. Going back to the Beirut Greeks, very cool, very, a lot of younger people. Cyprus is just there as well too, so there's, a few people that come across. Greece is just there.
Yep.
The Ottomans were there, as we said, Greeks, as merchants and administrators were everywhere. So naturally there was a lot of Greeks that maintained presences across the Mediterranean, and Beirut being one of them. Beirut, the port, for example, parts of the port was built by Greeks. So, and a few ports like that across the Mediterranean where Greeks contributed to shipping or building the ports. But the ones that I came across, I went to, there's a Greek community club. The kids one night took me out.
Yep.
Actually, it was a crazy night. I got picked up by taxi, took me out to, I don't know, somewhere outside of Beirut. You go to pay, and the taxi driver's like, well, it's already been paid for. Some guide came and paid money. So, the Greeks, just typical Greek. And this night, food just went for hours, right? And, Lebanese, there was a couple of Greek songs sung. Everyone's dancing, having fun. You go to offer to pay at the end of the night. You think, oh, man, this is going to cost me $200. But, I've got to pay it. It's been paid for. Everything's been taken care of. It's a typical, a Greek, that philotimo, right? Mm. The kids, take me home. Somewhere they decide to stop in the middle of a road, and they're like, "Well, let's show you the Greek dancing we've been learning at the club." So just on the main it was quiet, but it was a main road, dancing Greek, playing Greek music. And it's like typical of, you know,
Crazy.
it's like that Greek American, Greek Australian, you know, like we want to show off the Greekness. And they certainly have that Greek spirit.
There's a lot of people who have compared Beirut to Athens. Are they quite similar cities in that respect? Everyone talks about the fact that Beirut's a bit of a party city.
Yeah, it is. I looked at it from the point of view of the crazy driving.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Far out. I can't swear, but...
Yes, you can.
Jeez, man. Nut jobs.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nuts. But, you know, a lot of people, very stylish as well.
Yes.
I found women were very sexy as well. I think it's the world's capital for Botox or plastic surgery or something like that, which I don't think they need, but
crazy.
You know, it's
all the beautiful people are there.
Yeah. Because my dad went there in the 60s. He said it was like the Paris of the Middle East.
Yeah.
That's what it was around. And there's a lot of French-speaking people there as well. It was a French colony at one stage.
Yep, French mandate. A lot of people still speak French. So that's the beauty of a place like Beirut. You know, they'll speak Arabic, French. The Greeks, they obviously speak their Greek fluently.
So they speak Greek in Beirut?
Yeah, the Greek community, obviously.
Wow.
But it's not a big community, but they all know each other.
What about Tripoli in Lebanon?
I haven't been, but there are Greeks there. There's a Greek church. There's a few Greeks
Any
there.
connection to Tripoli in Peloponneso? No.
Nah.
Just a similar name, 3 cities.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. So I want to hear about you told me off air, actually when we have a drink, you're talking about Ukraine, the Greeks in Ukraine. It's fascinating. Tell us your experiences.
I think as of now, it's Greeks of Russia. Hasn't it been illegally annexed as of yesterday?
Is that right?
Sure.
Yeah. Before the war, so it was.
Let's talk before.
Yeah, the 2 times I'd been there, and I've met a lot of Greek Ukrainians in my time. Amazing. They really kept their Greekness. And as opposed to Italy, where Catholicism had a lot to do with the decline in the numbers or the people who identify as Greek or Greko, Ukrainian Greeks, very resilient. So under the Stalin era, it was illegal to speak Greek. You know, a lot of Greeks were deported to Siberia, but a lot of people kept this Greekness going underground. You know, I met this woman, for example, Athena, who I became great friends with over the years, still friends to this day. Her father was a poet. She and her family and friends, they had to learn Greek in the 80s, not at school, but, you know, they had to secretly learn how to do it. It was the Gorbachev era, so it wasn't going to be that difficult, but before Gorbachev, it still was. So a lot of people still, you know, frightened to say that we're Greek. Once independence came, there's a lot of Greek communities across Ukraine. So there's about, I think, 200,000 Greeks, give or take.
200,000 Greeks in Ukraine.
Yeah. You know what's awesome about these guys? Unlike us here, where we've got, you know, there's a Greek community for this, there's a Greek community for that, and, you know, there's so many different peak organizations. They've got one, and it's the Greek Federation, and it's been one president for about 25 years. She's quite a switched-on person. I met her on my travels. She took me to some of the Greek schools, and they all come under the Federation. So there's 17 Greek communities across Ukraine, and they're all connected to the Greek Federation, which is based in Mariupol. You know, I'd been there. I've got a couple of the books here in my little collection, which I brought. The theatre, which is there, which had a Greek director at the time. You know, I've got their theatre book here as well.
Wow. I
saw all these wonderful places. The Federation's amazing, right? Building, which is, I think it's also been bombed like a theatre now. It was beautiful. It was a multi-purpose. So I went in there and they're doing choir rehearsals. Another room, they were shooting something. You know, there's Greek classes. There's, you know, meeting rooms, all that kind of stuff. It's a wonderful, wonderful facility. And, you know, most of the Greeks were in those areas which are now unfortunately occupied by the Russians. There's about 20 Greek towns, and, you know, some of the bigger ones, one in particular called Saratana, for example, where Athena's from. The Greek houses are in blue and white. So you paint your house blue and white or green and white. And, you know, I've got to visit some of them. You know, they tell you they're Roman, I thought, which is quite good. You know, we're the Roman Greeks. And it's
Which
fascinating.
means Greeks from Constantinople.
Or from Pontus, or from the old Byzantine Empire.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's an old dialect as well too. So, speaking to, Athena, I remember the first time she introduced me to her auntie, and she's speaking this dialect, and I thought, wow, this is different. This is really different. Hard to follow.
I was going to say, is it understandable? Could you follow it?
Look, my Greek's kata, let's be honest. But it was hard. But you get used to it. It's like Greko. You get used to it, and you can pick up what they're saying. Amazing places, very, like Calabria. There's the poverty was there. Like, you're not driving around Lamborghinis. Very, very hospitable. There was a wedding, for example. So, second day of the wedding. Did
the bride come on a donkey? Or?
Probably. That
was on day one.
That was on day one. I think the Minotaur takes them on the second day.
Okay.
So they see Athena, they see me in the street, and they're like, "Oh, come inside." So we go inside, and then it's explained that I'm from Australia, and they're like, "Oh, sharks." First thing they always say, sharks.
Yeah,
sharks.
It's like, wow, okay. They don't know the bulldogs, but they know sharks.
Did they say scalop? How do you say shark in Greek? Is it scalopsero or karkaria? Karkaria.
Yeah. Okay. No, they just sharks. Because they'd seen English documentaries. And they put me on the second table. So the parents, the groom, and the parents of the bride and groom, they put me on their table. It's like, I don't know these people.
Guest of honour, mate.
Yeah, and everyone wants to drink with you.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to eat, you got to drink vodka shots, one after the other.
Nice.
It was just great. Greek dancing. It was again, felt like I was in Greece. And Athena took me to a lot of places, but that was a really good one. I went to, Odessa as well, the city, where they brought back the patriarch's body when he was hung by the Turks. 1821, I think it's the Church of the Holy Trinity.
Sure, which patriarch?
Constantinople. So in 1821, when the revolution was declared, our patriarch was strung up by the Ottomans. So they took his body back to Odessa. Odessa was the home of the Greek Revolution. So Filiki Eteria had their headquarters. Thanks to Athena, I got after-hours access. You go there, there's an Armenian caretaker who speaks Greek. And you got this place, you saw the books, you see, this small house, which is now a little museum of where the Greek Revolution was essentially born. So, where they'd meet, where they'd talk about how they're going to overthrow the Ottomans, all that kind of stuff. It was really cool.
Unbelievable.
Fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of history in Ukraine, and it's a lot of Greek history. Crimea obviously had a lot of Greek, most people don't know that the last Greek territory to fall to the Turks was in the Crimea, and it was 1475, December 1475.
Wow.
Yeah. Theobald.
Okay, the military name for the Mariupol town, was it called the Azovs?
Oh, the Sea of Azov.
Yeah. Is that something to do with Evzons, maybe? Is it a similar name? It sounds similar. No connection there.
But I like it. I like where you're going with that one.
Yeah, okay.
It's Greek. There you go.
Here you go.
Can we claim them?
We should, because Mariupol was set up by the Greeks. So it was 1789, I think, around that period. So just after the Australian kind of colony, after the Australian colony, Mariupol was created by Greeks who'd come across from Pontus and other places. That Catherine the Great helped them, and they created this city. These Greeks built this new city called Mariupol. It's a very special city. So there's a lot of Greek history in Mariupol and the towns that surround it. So see what happens down the track with that city. But it's
wow.
We've lost a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, we've spoken now about Greek communities in Italy, Turkey, Ukraine. What's the most bizarre place that you have seen or visited where there have been Greek communities?
I alluded to the one in Syria where you've got the Muslim Cretans, and I've turned up there, and my driver's dropped me off and fled, mind you, right, to this what's a lawless town, I found out. And there's a guy with a butcher's knife who walks out to greet me, and I'm like, oh fuck, here I go.
It's always a good sign.
Yeah, and I'm speaking in English, and they're not happy at all.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a couple of guys who are playing their dovely. I'm thinking, oh shit, what's going to happen here, man? the guy with a knife, and we're talking about a big knife, right? Big
meat cleaver.
Knife. Yeah. And then I'm trying to think of some words in Arabic that I learned, didn't work. And then I'm like, look, milate linika. They're like, yeah, milami linika. And I'm like, fuck it. And then everything changes from that. The guy puts his knife down. It's like a reunion of brothers, and and they've like, okay, so we've got some people here who can look after you. They send me to someone's house, and then other kids take me to other places as well. It's just that kind of experience where Greek Muslims, these people are still going to pray 5 times a day. They've got me into their house, and they're just lovely. They're just making a frappe. I hadn't had a frappe in Syria before. They made me a frappe.
Yeah.
Any good?
It's great. Yes. The guy in that house had worked and gone back to Crete. Mm-hmm. So, the connection. And he'd gone and worked in Crete for a few summers and that. So, could make his frappe. Look, there's been a lot of bizarre kind of encounters. I was in Bethlehem, so West Bank, Palestine. I booked into a hotel because, with a pool. I just wanted a pool, right? Just wanted to be able to... It turns out that's where Jesus was born, the Shepherd's Field, right? Bethlehem, Shepherd's Fields. So I thought, fantastic. And then, I've gone in, I've, paid for the room. And a guy comes up to me and he goes, Yasu Dikanis. And I'm like, what? He's like, Yasu Dikanis. He's like, Milasi linika. I'm like, yeah, I can speak a bit of Greek. My name is Mr. Zorbas. I'm like, what? I kid you not. Al Zorbas, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out he's a Greek going back centuries, which we can document. Wow. He was the manager of the hotel. He goes, look. And I look up, there's a Greek flag. And I'm like, wow.
And you missed that?
I missed that, right? Well, I got there late at night, right? Oh, that day, enough. Oh, mate. Yeah, if I tell you the full story of Palestine, from cars breaking down, mini carjacking, getting lost. Yeah. It was a really fun experience.
Carjacking, fun experience.
Mate, they were great guys. We became really good friends. It was really
Stockholm syndrome much or what? What's going on here?
I think they felt I'd kidnapped them at the end of the day.
But how funny is that? It's like the epiphany of Greeks, right? We get inundated with Turks for 400 years. Somehow we become friends and we nearly take over the Turkish Empire. Same with you. You got hijacked and all of a sudden you become friends with them.
Great
It's so Greek.
We can talk our way out of anything.
I know. Mate, you've been hijacked in the middle of Palestine, I think you just said. And somehow you become mates with them. Tell us the story.
Oh, look, it wasn't. It sounds worse than it is, but they just jumped in the car and
It's so Greek.
It's a bit more to it, but they turned out to be good boys. But I think they just wanted the car and a few other things. But they were great. No, they turned out to be great. They can't speak highly enough of them for carjackers.
So far as carjackers go, they're A1.
A1. Best carjackers on the planet.
Thank God my car broke down. Divine intervention.
Did they take your car or?
No, because the car broke it down. So by the end of it. So
yeah, boys, take it. Take it. If you can start it.
Yeah, and just drop me off down here.
But like I said, they turned out to be really good boys. The place I'd stayed at with Mr. Al Zorbas, turns out a kilometre away there was a Greek compound. And he's like, if you go through this guy's property and that guy's property and this guy's property, blah, 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 you'll get to the Greek compound. I'm like, sure. So, followed his instructions, and I'm going through people's homes, I guess. Or
hold up, because you're in a foreign country here. You don't speak the language, and you've been told to walk through people's properties. In my mind, I'm thinking there are people with shotguns, that aren't going to take kindly to this. Were you worried about that?
And you're in Israel; everyone's got guns.
Well, the Palestine side of it, in Israel they do have guns. In Palestine, not so much. But they're all good, man. People were waving to me, and I'm like, I'm I say sorry in English and sorry in Greek, and they're like, okay. And then I try and explain to some people where I'm going, and they understand. Yeah, that way. I think one family said, if you want to come back and eat, no problem.
How good's that?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like they don't know me from a bar of soap. Well, maybe they wanted to do something to me, but it was. It's quite good.
Feeding.
All these places, right? There's always something unique, and you go to Alexandria, for example, and you go to Kavafi's museum. There's a Greek guy, a man who speaks Greek, who looks after it. You go in. There's a woman you'd bump into in the street the day before. It turns out she's staying at a hotel as well.
This is Alexandria.
Yeah,
Egypt.
it turns out she's a famous author.
Wow.
She's got access to his bedroom, and she's writing Helena's book. I'm like, wow, it's just bizarre things that you can come across, which is just amazing.
Yeah.
In Tunisia, I wanted to see a Byzantine Greek site, and turn up in the middle of, I don't know where it was, an hour out of Tunis. The taxi driver, it was a long drive, stops at one point, gets a bottle out and pees. That kind of thing happens. But I got dropped off at this place, and I thought, I didn't realise how I'd get back after that once you get dropped off in the middle of nowhere. But I wanted to see some Byzantine Greek things, and no one speaks English, and I'm like, you're arguing with not arguing, but you're like, no, but it says in my book that this is a Greek site. And they're like, oh, there's not really much here. And they're like, okay, you know what? Come into our office. We're going to give you the documents. You find what you want, and then we'll show you what you need to see. I'm like, wow. It's like, so it was this big archaeological dig. Turns out it was close to the public. And, they were just nice enough
to... So you talked your way in?
Well, with broken Arabic and...
International language, waved your arms and...
Do you know what I'm Greek? Let me in.
What a privilege to be able to do that, though. That's amazing.
You can get away... you're turning up on your own, you're pleading, you can get away with a lot of that kind of stuff, which is good.
Well, Eleni Zahos was saying the same sort of thing, Greeks gotten her out of some pretty dicey situations.
Yes.
It sounds like it's helped you too, mate.
Yeah, she's a good egg, that one.
She is.
I had something similar. I think one of our episodes I talked about when I was in Jordan in a town called Petra.
Yep.
That was our first episode.
Was it? Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I needed some currency. Had no dinars in the Jordan currency, and they directed me down to the local travel agent, and he had no English at all in him. I could only speak English and Greek, but we did their international language, which was sign language, I guess. And then he looked at my passport and he goes, Elena Sese, and that was it. Next 2 hours, I sat down. His wife brought us some drinks, and we conversed. And I got more than just the currency exchange.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
See, people don't realise, and this is the thing about Greek, and this is one of the disappointing things about a lot of people a lot of second and third generations not learning Greek. It's actually quite useful in a lot of places. Here's some trivia. Where are the 3 countries in the world where Greek is the official language?
So Greece, Cyprus,
and the autonomous Hellenic Republic of Mount Athos. So you've got 3 places.
Okay, there you go.
But you've also got a lot of places where Greek is useful. So, I've outlined a few.
Like Melbourne.
Melbourne, Belmore's another one.
Yeah.
And it's been quite useful in a lot of places. Couldn't get around Alexandria without speaking Greek. There's still a lot of Greek shop. When I say Greek shops, the front of the shop is Greek. The Greeks were driven out in the 60s and 50s, but they've kept Egyptians, wonderful people. They've kept these Greek names, and a lot of them still speak Greek. So their dad could speak it, or they're at that generation. They're old. They spoke Greek. It's really good. You can get to these places. You can get around with using the Greek language. In London, some of my Greek friends would come across from Greece. It is the best Greek community in the world. You can survive in London without speaking English. It's
really,
there's a lot of Greeks, a lot of Cypriots.
Yeah, there are actually.
Yeah, and there's so many shops, so many Greek shops, so many Greek places, Greek churches, Greek schools. You can survive. New York was similar as well. You go to. I stayed in Astoria. Granted, it's transitioned a bit to Latin or Mexican, but you still got the Marathon Bank. You've still got the Athena video shop is still there. The cake shop, the Furno, the Greek restaurants, the French music bar, which is owned by Greeks. Got all these Greek things you go to, Greek people, Olympiacos store, the AX store. It's
Tarpon Springs as well. There's a huge Greek community there where they make ouzo as well.
Yeah.
Well, I think our top 10 cities, Miami's in one of them now.
Yeah.
It's snuck into our top 10 cities of downloads.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. Yeah. Great place.
It's huge, yeah.
Wonderful.
So you touched on the migration into America. Can you tell us any more about it? And
it's not a big thing for me, but it's starting to grow on me. So Los Angeles, New York. I've got long service leave coming up. I'll be doing some things around the Americas. So as my Brazilian friends say, America isn't the USA, it's all of us. So I'll be getting around a few places. I know Santiago's got a Greek community. I found the 2 Greeks in Bolivia, so I'll be checking them out. Rio, there's a Greek community that I've hung out with. LA, I met a few Greeks. Great community, great history.
Even Colombia has a Greek community.
Well, my cousin married twice as married Colombian women, so I've got Colombian Greek cousins. Yeah,
there you go.
How good is that?
There's a few.
Argentina, there's a few in Buenos
Argentina's
Aires.
huge. Yeah, it's huge. It's 50 to 60,000 people. So again, you can see a lot of them. Argentina's blended in a little bit more though, so it's not like it's not like you're walking around Brighton or Oakley or whatever parts of London where you got Greek tattoos and all these Greek shops and things like that. I think the Argentinian Greeks have kind of immersed themselves a lot more, and a lot of them are a lot older. I mean, it's their Nassus generation, and then after World War II as well. So. But there's still a few there. And a lot of Latin America is like that too, where you've got, the Brazilians, for example, down the south had from Castelorizo and those places a lot of Greeks in the 1800s.
So Greeks are everywhere. So what do you think it is? What is it about Greeks that love to travel? They hang on to their language, their culture. We're talking Greeks from 3,000 years ago. And we're still hanging on to the language. Is it something in our DNA? What do you think it is?
Certainly that feta.
Feta makes you fatter?
It does, man. I think we're quite unique, but it's a whole range of reasons. And it depends on the different part of the world. If you're in a place like Ukraine, you're isolated from, Western, have been traditionally from Western cultures, been a lot of empires. So it's easy to hang on to your Greek heritage. The Pontos until they were completely wiped out. The back of the Pontos, you're surrounded by mountains. Even if you want to escape, you're not getting out of the Pontos anytime soon, right? So you're holding on to your Greek identities. Armenia is another one. So I went to some Armenian towns that are Greek-speaking towns. They were mostly Pontians, but Armenia has had, and Georgia, have had a lot of Greeks over that 3,000-year era.
Very strong connection with the Armenians.
Yeah. Oh, mate, lovely, beautiful people, wonderful people. And I am banned from driving in Armenia, but that's a different story.
You're on the wrong side of the road.
No, apparently I kept going through speed cameras, and I get this message from the travel company saying, looks like we're going to have to ban you from driving, and if you're not going to pay your fines. And I'm like, but where were these speed cameras? It's like, seriously, man, you driven through those mountains? Armenia, Georgia, Pontos, Ukraine, they were so isolated for so many years. It was easy to hold on to a level of Greekness, which was great. And if you've got the religion thrown in as well, that helps, I think.
So it's like a lot of our guests say, it's the diaspora of the Greeks hang on to that culture more than the Greeks.
Well, I think what Billy's just said is one side of it, in the sense that a lot of these communities are definitely isolated. Then there's the other Greeks, like all of us here, for example, who have gone to another place, and to some degree we've assimilated, integrated into the new culture, but we have this preoccupation and this strong desire to hold on to it. And I can't remember who was on the show a few episodes back who said the biggest fear that our parents had or grandparents had was that their kids would not be Greek. There's something there that makes us feel that we need to make sure that this survives.
I can tell you this though, once the language goes, that's the biggest challenge. So it doesn't matter about religion and whether you support Olympiacos or your Greek hairstyles or if you eat feta. The language is the most important thing. And you look at a lot of the places that I've been to across the Mediterranean, I kid you not when I say that there were so many Greeks there. Libya, for example, there were so many cities there that were Greek. South of France, a couple of parts of Spain. And once the language is gone, give it a century plus, a few more years, and the Greek identities are gone as well too. So, in southern Italy, most of Calabria obviously doesn't speak Greco. They know that they're of Greek heritage, but they haven't spoken Greco for, a century, 2 centuries, whatever. So they're not connecting with anything that's Greek. They certainly don't have their religion there anymore. being Greek doesn't resonate with a lot of them.
Yeah.
Crotone with the football team, they know their history, and Marseille Olympic know their history too. But ultimately, they're Calabrian and they're French. Across Egypt, Alexandria especially used to be it was Greek, it was Italian, it was Arabic. Now you just know that it was. It's not. Yeah. It's not like the 50s and the 40s where all you needed was Greek and you can get by, or French or whatever. So once that language is gone, it's a struggle. So here in Australia, once our kids and next generation after that, if they don't learn Greek and they're not going back to Greece, our numbers are going to dwindle. Yeah. So in 200 years' time, we might have someone called Papadopoulos, but is Papadopoulos really going to be Greek? It's like the Irish in America. Oh, we're Irish and blah blah. Okay, so what is it about you that's Irish? Can you speak Gaelic? No. Yeah. Do you go to Ireland? Yep. No. Do you follow any of the rituals? No. Yep. Do you know who U2 is? Oh, they do know that. Well, U2's Irish. Get out of here. So language is the most important element.
Yeah. It sort of ties you into the culture.
And we need to do whatever we can to support it. Yeah.
Other than the Italians, I can't think of... Well, I'm trying to think of other cultures who have this same sort of preoccupation that we do to make sure that our culture survives. I can't think of anyone who... or any other culture just off the top of my head other than maybe the Italians who have that preoccupation.
Jewish is one.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Actually, great.
They've been really good at maintaining
their culture.
Yeah, that's a fantastic example.
How many Jews in Israel? There's not that many, is there?
In Israel, heaps.
Not more than Greece.
Well, Israel, I think at the moment the population is around 10 million.
Oh,
around about 9, 10. A little bit less. I mean, we're 10.5. I think they're 9, 10.
And
80% are Hebrew, Jewish. 20% are Arabic of some sort, Palestinian or Arabic or whatever.
Yeah, but it's a good call out you said, because they do carry on their culture and their heritage and their language.
5,000 years of history.
Yeah, that's a top example. Yeah. Great example.
Yeah, because you get anywhere in the world, there's a Jewish community. There's a synagogue. And
it's either a Jewish community or an Irish pub. So
yes, and a Zorba restaurant.
No, there is. I mean, I was in Singapore in July. Was it July or August? August. And I'm like, where do I want to eat? And I found Greek restaurants.
Yeah, of course. Naturally.
When I'm in Rio, there's 2 Greek restaurants.
Well, Lenny said the same thing in Iraq.
Yeah.
It showed up, and one of the first things she saw was what did she call it? I think it was a Greek grill or something like that.
Yeah.
She's like, she's telling the cabbie, pull over.
Stop, take a photo.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, it's good.
Well done, mate. Very impressive. Very impressive. So what's next for Billy?
I'm going to go home and sleep.
Travel-wise, so you've got your documentaries coming out?
Yeah, we've got that. We're this one will play. It's played in Melbourne. It played in Adelaide as well too. I think Channel 31 is going to pick it up. We had an offer from it's a Greek history channel from Greece, Cyprus. We passed on that because I'm being a bit too difficult with negotiations. So we'll hopefully get it played a few other places, and that's it. And then put it on YouTube. Whoever wants to watch it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, happy days. And then travel-wise, I've got back to Brazil in December. Brazil, Bolivia, there's 2 Greeks, as I said, that I want to find. And then what else? And then back to Brazil at Easter, Greece, usual stuff.
Yeah. Any more documentaries?
Kosovo.
Kosovo.
Is on my list, yeah. As for docos...
Do you say, Kosovo? There's Greeks in Kosovo.
Yeah, look, all through the Balkans, there's some elements, right? Montenegro's got a tiny Greek community, for example. I was there, but there's some old, there's Byzantine stuff. Croatia's the same. Belgrade, I was in Belgrade recently. Small Greek community there. Greek restaurant's fantastic.
Really?
That's the most important thing.
Remember what it was called? I walked to I had no Wi-Fi, but I'd taken some screenshots of a map, and I thought, it's about a 40-minute walk, and it was 35 degrees. Man, I'll never do it again. 2.5 hours later, but you walk through. You walk through the river, and you walk past the castle, and just great. Eventually, you get to this Greek restaurant, you're dripping in sweat. It's like, please, fellow Katinafa. Oh, he's selling us. So it's nice. It's nice to get there. And as you walk up, you see a couple of Euro shops as well. That's great. Euro shops. We wouldn't have thought.
Do you feel like you're related when you start hearing the Greek language? You feel like you're sort of related to him,
absolutely.
like an old uncle or aunt.
Everyone's always, Manhattan, for example, destroying your equipment. Just to let everyone know, I'm not really violent, but I do destroy stuff. Man United's not even playing today. I was at Manhattan Beach in LA in December, and so I went to this Greek restaurant. I don't know the way I pronounced, feta or something. Must have triggered one of the staff. They go back to some guy and they're like, "There's a Greek here. There's a Greek here." And this guy, big guy, comes like this really big guy. I thought,
with a meat cleaver in his hand?
No, thank God, no. It's just a gun. Guns are all right. It's First Amendment or whatever. It's Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh fuck, what have I done, man? Like, seriously, I've like been so well behaved. I'm not drinking. Like And he's like, "Oh, apa po isso, Billy Moore?" And I'm like, "Oh, right." He's like, Greek. Because one of the staff came. He was really excited. They thought you were Greek, and I thought I'll come chat to you. That's and he's within 2 minutes is like, "Oh, look, take my details. I'll take you around Manhattan. I'll take you around LA if you need to see some Greek things." Blah blah blah. Tells me a bit about his life story. I thought, wow, it's a really nice guy. Like, it's like they open up. It's like you're connected, like you're bonded, simply because you're Greek. You've shown up here. You've made the efforts. They're great. They're so welcoming.
We've spoken about
everywhere.
it before. How we're instantly connected the second that we meet up with someone Greek.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, Billy, mate, I suspect we could talk for hours about all of these things, and we probably will again. It almost feels like he's a co-host, I'd say. So look, Billy, mate, thank you so much for being on the show.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for doing your podcast, by the way. This is great. I understand you now in 77, 78 countries.
Yeah, we just ticked
so
over.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Someone in Jersey is listening to us, which is our official country. 78 countries.
That's awesome. Bravo. It's fantastic.
No, it's
you'll pick up one listener from Brazil, so
I think we're already there.
We're in Brazil, but we'll see the numbers. We actually see the cities that they're from.
Oh, that's great.
See the cities pop up.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Bravo.
No, look, it's been fascinating. It's been a great chat. Like, I love someone that's travelled and you're very well versed, tell a good story. But
some of them are true.
Not all.
What are you saying, Billy?
Well, mate, look, I mean, you're thanking us for doing this, mate. Thank you for doing what you're doing with these documentaries and these books, helping to inform a lot of the diaspora. So thank you very much for what you do.
Definitely. Your articles are everywhere. And how many books have you written, by the way?
Technically 6, includes a food book that we made with Fraser's property. As you can see, I eat, so...
Definitely.
Doesn't
every Greek... Isn't that what every Greek lives for? Food?
Absolutely.
So 6 books, handful of documentaries, and 1,000 articles amongst all these digital newspapers that are out there.
Yeah, and the best thing is, I think probably 2 cousins and a couple of girlfriends have read my stuff. So it's really, it's been good.
I've read your stuff, Billy. It's
great stuff. It's great
quality.
Stuff. Very well researched. And look, it's all about the passion at the end of the day. And that's something that obviously you have because, mate, not only are you creating content out of this stuff, you're putting your money where your mouth is, and you're traveling to all these places and seeing it all firsthand.
Mate, love it. It's good. People open their doors. I'll leave you with this one last thing, man. Being Greek, I was in Japan. My best mate lives in Makobaro. He took me to schools, did presentations, Graecia, they were fascinated by a culture which is as old as theirs, and people just, whatever the guy from Graecia wants, whatever I wanted, people would give me presents, food, alcohol. It would put us up in their homes. It's amazing. I mean, I know Japanese are friendly people, but the things I was able to get out of these people, I'm sure if I asked them for $1 million, they would have given me $1 million. Yeah. They were just lovely people, and it just helps being of some sort of Greek heritage. It makes a huge difference. So we're very lucky. We're very blessed, and
absolutely,
I'm going to continue to use and abuse that Greekness.
Please do, mate, and keep documenting it.
Definitely. Look, it's been fascinating, mate. Thank you so much for coming in. And look, I'm sure there'll be another episode in you for sure. So keep on traveling.
Well, if you want your ratings to go down, definitely just ask Meraki TV. They'll tell you.
Not true. Well, the next episode we do, we'll call it 3 Beards, because I've just noticed that all 3 of us have beards with varying levels of grey in it. So We're all getting there.
Well, mine started yesterday, so it's...
Good stuff.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you very much,
fantastic.
mate. And look, uzotalk@outlook.com is the email, at uzotalk on most social media platforms, and at uzo_talk on Instagram. Nick Athanasiou, thank you very much, mate.
Tom, you're a legend as always. Thank you.
Cheers, brother. We'll see you next time.
See you, everyone.
Ακολουθήστε μας στο Soundees, στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcasts και στο Google Podcasts.